Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into After Effects. So I'm going to open up After Effects, and I'm using After Effects CS6. This works for very earlier versions. This is just a very simple procedure or use for After Effects. After Effects is going to come on. It might give you this this window here, and it's going to ask you what you want to do. Open up a project, but we're going to start a new composition here because we're just starting. We're going to make a new video file. So I start new composition, and it's going to bring up the composition settings. You can also get the composition settings up here from composition up on the main menu. So it might not come up what it's showing here because I've already done some work. It just defaults to the last thing that you did. But what I like to do is I like to make it a custom, and I give it the I'm going to be giving it the aspect ratio here. As you can see, it has different aspect ratios. NTSC-DV is 720 by 480, while custom, I'm going to have to rechange that, is 640 by 480. That is the default aspect ratio that came in Maya. And then I'm going to have it down here, pixel aspect ratio at square pixels. Basically, that keeps it from distorting. Square pixels will not stretch your image sometimes. My frame rate, I'm going to make it 24 because we worked in Maya at 24 frames a second. Resolution, let's keep it at full. There, you can if you're doing test renders and test movies, you can make it half render, but we're just going to keep it at full. And then the duration here, this is going to default at like 30 or something. And if you don't know exactly what the time code is, let's just make it, I'm going to make it 14 seconds. It's actually 4 minutes 7 seconds, but I'm not quite sure what it is. Let's just say, so let's just make it longer than you think it's going to be. And this is going to make your timeline, and it's going to give a duration to your timeline. And we press OK. And there we go. We have our timeline here, 14 seconds, 7 frames. This is our comp setting here, and this is our workspace up here. Now we want to bring in those renders that we made in Maya. So I'm going to go into File, Import, and I'm going to import file. You might want to think, oh, multiple files. That's not, you don't want to do that. That's for a different function. That's for bringing in different layers and stuff. You just want to bring in file. So I'm going to bring in that file, and it's navigated to my project folder, the images folder. You might have to navigate to that, but it's already gone to that project folder that's on my hard drive. And I choose the very first one. Now look here. Remember when we had the frame extension that we did in Maya? It gave me, the way it displays is it's the file name, dot, and the number, and it goes all the way down to 130 frames there. I want to choose the very first one, frame 1, frame 001, and I choose that. And I notice here, when I did that little test render, I made a little mistake. So there may be a mistake in here, but we're just going to look at that. So I'm going to choose the first one. I want to go down here, and I want to check target sequence. You want to check target sequence because that's going to not just take the first one. If I didn't check that, it would just import the very first one. But it's going to, if I check this, it's going to take in all 130 frames. And I go open. This is going to bring in just, it's an alpha image because it's a targa. Targets have alpha images embedded into them, and you can tell it to ignore the alpha image. I'm just going to keep it at the default straight unmatted and go OK. And here it is. It's coming into my little project folder, my project window over here. And what I want to do is I want to select that, the name of the file, and I'm going to bring it down into, oops, see, that's the error that happened there. So basically what that was is that there's a bad frame in there, and I'm going to have to deal with that a little later. So every time I'm going to hit that frame 7, it's going to bring up that thing. And you're probably going to need to re-render those frames. So what I'm going to do, hey, let's just take a look. Hey, this is a good lesson. If you have a bad frame, I'm going to go back into Maya. I noticed that it was frame 7 that was bad. So I'm going to go into my render settings, render editor, render settings, and I'm going to go to common, and I'm going to render 7 frame 7 like so. And render cam, all my settings are the same, and then I'll just go batch render. And it's going to say here, results of rendering. If we wait a second, it's going to render frame 7, hopefully. And there we go. It rendered frame 7. Now, if we were to look at, the details here, frame 7 is now fixed. Notice before it had a smaller frame, it had a smaller size. So we know, because they're all the same, basically the same file size, we know that there's a consistent frame quality there. So now let's go back into After Effects, and now this should be fixed because it's not actually bringing in the files, it's just referencing the files. It's just referencing in each one of those rendered frames. If we go here, we've fixed that little mistake that happens there. So that's a little extra thing that I did. I wasn't intending to show you how to troubleshoot a mistake there, but that's a little extra thing that kind of shows you how you can kind of fix things on the fly. I could actually go in and re-render these frames in Maya, and they're just going to update here in After Effects. I just saved the After Effects file, and they'll just keep re-rendering. It's not actually brought in those renders like I just said. Okay, so I've brought in all of my renders. It's in the timeline here, and you notice that the timeline is going farther than I need it to go. So I'm going to go determine how long, and as we said, it's 4 seconds 8 frames, 4 seconds 7 frames. I'm going to go back into my composition settings. So composition settings, and it brings up that window again. And now I can change the duration settings to 4 seconds 7 frames. And that just shortens the frame, because if I were to render this, it's going to render out, it'll render out all 14 seconds, but I don't want it to do that. So we're good. I have all of my frames brought into After Effects. I can look at it as a movie here, and I want to render this out as like a QuickTime or an AVI. I go to File. Oh, no, sorry. We go to Composition, Add to Render Queue. So I'm going to press Add to Render Queue, and this brings up something that's it covers up the timeline, but it's a render queue. And what this does is it gives you some settings here. It's a little more confusing. It's not as intuitive as some other things. But the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to go to the output, and I'm going to click on this little output setting here, and it's going to bring up a window, and it's going to tell me where I want my video file, my QuickTime or my AVI to go. I'm just going to put it on my desktop, and I'm going to name it Balls Render 1, and I'm making sure that it goes to my desktop there. It's going to save as an AVI, but we can change that in a second. So I'm going to save that, and it tells you here what the name of it, and it's going to go to the desktop. Then I go into Output Module, and I click on the Lossless. Lossless is going to be my settings, what format, and what the settings of that format. Lately I've been using AVI, but another good, of course, a good video setting that you can use is QuickTime. And then you can also go to Video Output here, check the video output, and go to Format Options. And this is going to give you some compression codecs. It's going to give you, depending on what you have loaded on your computer, It's animation. Animation is a good one. That's a low compression. It makes big files, but it's a good high quality compression. Maybe that's the one we can do. If you want to put things on YouTube, or maybe email them or put them up on the critique zone, you can use H.264 or MPEG-4 videos. It's up to you. H.264 is a good one. MPEG-4 is a good one, but I'm just going to use the animation one because animation has a good high quality look to the QuickTime videos. And we're going to press OK. And there's some other settings here we can just keep on default. Press OK. We're good to go. Over here on the right side of the frame, we're going to press render. And it's pretty quick. Sometimes these take longer, but this is going pretty quick, and it'll make that little sound when it's ready, and you're good to go. You've made your render in After Effects. Let's just go down here. This is on my desktop. Sorry about my messy desktop. Here it is. This is the QuickTime render here, balls render. Let's just open that up with QuickTime and see what it looks like. There we go. And there's our video file. Ready to be shown, emailed, posted on your website or whatever. And if we look, that's actually not a very big size. That's about 47 megabytes, depending on the size and some of the settings. These could be bigger or smaller, but that's a pretty good for a size. And as if you see, it's not such a bad quality as well. This is something that could be the quality is good enough for your show reel or your portfolio. So thank you very much for watching.